All right, I'm going to show you how to do the wash. That's an even solid color that goes in the background part of your image. So let me just grab a paintbrush. So you're going to figure out what color that you want to use. Now for the wash, you want to be using a brush that is bigger, it has more bristles to it. Something that is small is not going to work out as well. So find a brush that has more bristles, it's a bigger brush. And then you're going to mix your color. I think I'm going to use an orange. And I might mix just a little bit of yellow in there to kind of lighten it up. When you're doing the wash, you have to have a lot of color mixed. You don't want to run out of the color midway through working because you can't stop to mix more of that color. So I'm almost going to fill about the whole palette here. So it has plenty of water and then it has enough color that it's going to be visible when I start to paint. I'll add just a little bit of yellow, clean my brush out. All right, so I have plenty mixed, maybe put just a little more color in there. Now when you're doing the wash, the most important thing is that you're holding your board at an angle. So what that looks like is right now it's flat, but instead you're going to put your hand down onto the table. Just gonna move this over a little bit more. Okay, and then you're going to hold it at a slight angle. If you hold it up too much where you guys can't even see the image, that's way too much of an angle. So again, rest your hand on the table and then you just place the board into your hand right there. That is a good enough of an angle that you'll be able to work and then you'll be able to have the color move down as you paint. The reason why we have this at an angle is so when you're painting, there's kind of a puddle of color that forms. And then continually that is moving down so you get that even color. Right, so I'm going to take my brush, dip it into the color, and then I'm going to start going slowly across the top. Now you can see that there's that puddle of color that's starting to form. So I can dip my brush back in, and then I'm going to kind of go over some of that line that's already there. Make sure that you're painting around the subject matter, because the wash is only going in the background. Now because my drawing is there, I have to jump over it. I might focus on working over here, pause, and then move over here. So because I have a big puddle of color here, I'm just going to move to this side for a little bit to continue to move some of the color down. I'm going to paint in here. All right, I'm going to pause, move over to this side. You don't want either side to dry out. If it dries out, what happens is you have kind of a darker line that forms and it will dry there, so you don't want that. I'm going to keep moving this color down. Pause here for a little bit, work on this small section. And then move back over here so it doesn't dry out. Pause, come over here. Now I'm going to pause for a second because I have a buildup of color there. I don't want it to drip. So to get that color buildup there, because it stops, I'm going to dry my brush on the paper towel, put it into that spot, and it will lift up some of the extra color. And you can do that multiple times to lift up some of the extra. If you don't do this, it will dry darker. All right, that's finished, then we'll keep working on this background. Move over here for a little bit. Now notice as I'm painting, I'm not moving back up here. If you do that, you're going to have darker areas that appear. So I'm moving horizontally and then moving down as I go. Okay, pause for a little bit over here. All right, now at the end, you might have a puddle of color again. Dry your brush on the paper towel, then place it at the very bottom, kind of where that tape edge is, and it will pick up some of that extra puddle there. Again, you don't want that because it will dry darker. All right, now I might come back up here just to kind of get a little bit extra dried up. All right, so this is an example of an even, solid wash. It's just about the same colors throughout the whole piece. We don't see any lines that have kind of formed. And a lot of that's because I haven't moved up to fix things as I'm painting. Now, if you get to the end and you see some streaks here and there, or you see lines, what you can do is let it dry, or even right now when it still is wet, you can use that same color and do the same thing where you're painting across horizontally and then moving down in the same direction. Sometimes when you do it a second time, it helps to even out some of the layers. Or if I looked at this background and I thought that it was way too light of a color, I could mix a little bit more orange and yellow and go over it, and that it would start to build up that color to make it darker. A little tip, if you are struggling with a wash, if you do a lighter color, such as something like this, where you can still see the color, usually the wash seems to turn out a little bit better. If you pick colors that are really, really dark, meaning too much paint right in the beginning, usually you'll start to see some streaks appear. So this is an example of a wash.